live. What is going on, everybody? Long time no see. Cody from Motorcycle MD. It's been like almost 2 weeks. Vacations and Christmas and New Year's. I still feel like I'm playing catch up, but welcome to the live Q&A. This is episode 14. Again, my name's Cody Richards. I run a website called Motorcycle MD as well as a YouTube channel that you're seeing here. And every Monday night, around 8:30, I try to get together with everybody on my email list who have questions that I get throughout the week or the month, compile them to something that I feel like everybody can really gain from. A lot of them are, for some reason this month has been really intricate questions that long emails. I got tons of them. And like I said, man, I'm just playing catch up. I had to pick my wife up from work because I broke her car. Go figure. And we got 14 inches of snow past 2 weeks, so it's been crazy. Our heat broke at the shop, so it was like 47 degrees all day, and I spent my entire day fixing the HVAC system here. Or trying to. I know nothing about it, but we actually got it running, so that's why I'm bundled, but it's still cold. So, yeah, every Monday I go over some questions that I get. A lot of questions I got this month were a lot of people asking about carb cleanings, because that's what I do. To the guys who don't have Hondas, I can clean the carb, but I don't want to. The reason why I don't want to is because I can guarantee my work with all Honda stuff. I can guarantee it. When it comes to Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and the very intricate different carbs that I'm not 100% familiar with. Is it quiet? Here, let me try something. Thanks for letting me know, man. Maybe that's better. My beard is blocking the sound. I don't know. We'll try that. Hopefully that works. But I'll just talk louder. But yeah, so those carbs, I cannot guarantee my work. And the trouble part about doing carbs through mail order is that I really like to make sure that they're tuned well, obviously once they get back, but I can't do that. So when I send carbs back, I have to make sure that no matter what, they are ready to go without any issues. And if it's not Honda, I can't say that it's going to be 100% every time. So I'm sorry, but I do professional carb cleans, but typically it's Honda only. Sorry, guys. But yeah, a lot of questions on carb cleans and some electrical questions and stuff like that. So we'll go over those. I have about 4 questions that I compiled together. I was literally like down to the wire. I got back to the shop at 8 o'clock, and I was like busting through these emails like, that's going to take a while, and I'm trying to just compile. So I got 4. And at the end of it all, we'll open the floor up and see what you guys have questions about on your own bike maybe. I'll leave the floor open for some Q&A on maybe not just your bike or a question about anything. We're here to talk about it, and that's what I want to do. So I'm going to pull it up here on my computer so I can see you guys' questions. I hope you guys had an awesome Christmas and a New Year. Like I said, it's been forever since I've seen you guys. Well, since you've seen me. But I missed it. In January, this month, on the 14th, I think it's a Sunday. So the 15th, I'll be out of town. I'll be going to train in Georgia for Honda for a week. So we won't have it on the 15th. I'll send an email out for those of you who are on the subscriber list. If you're just viewing this for the first time, welcome. If you have a question about your bike, and you want to answer it or maybe brought up here in the conversation, go to the email list on my website, motorcyclemd.com. There's a Ask MD tab and a YouTube Live Q&A drop-down that helps me organize things, so I can really get it. I try to cater to the guys who are on my email list the most, and I typically stay in my Honda lane, but I try to give feedback to all the other bikes as well. But yeah, so lately, let's see, before we begin, I'm still trying to figure this out and pull this up on my computer. Hold on. There it is, live now. Turn the volume off. And we got it. So, lately, the shop's been slow. It's winter, that's how it is. Especially with the snow that hit. All parts that I had going, I have like, it's a mainly four-wheeler season. Parts on back order because of the snow. I think the last video I was talking about a Trail 70, a CT70 right there, that I've been trying to bring back from the grave. Motor's almost together. It was in really bad shape, so that's where I'm at right now. I media blasted it, painted the cylinder back to the original color. I think the guy's gonna be really excited about that, but he wanted the whole motor gone through, and he had a Kickstarter problem. The Kickstarter pinion gear was sheared off completely. So I had to order a new one, find new old stock, go to eBay, do this, that, and the other to try to find parts, Frankenstein, and make it a whole motor. So that's where we're at right now. I got points and stuff to put on, but really it's just covers and this, that, and the other. So that's where I'm at right now. Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you guys, okay, real quick. I have been battling an issue on a bike that I don't want to say that I'm completely stumped on, but it's not making any sense to me, which is very frustrating. So a quick story on it. It's actually not the bike that I'm working on. It's actually my boss is working on the bike, and me and him been like going at it, trying to figure out what the heck's wrong with the bike. So the bike is a Goldwing 1800 trike, okay? Had a motor swapped out. I'm not going to go into details, maybe I will. The guy thought it would be a great idea to tow the Goldwing on the back of a RV with the rear wheels on the ground. It has a drive shaft, and when you do that, there is no oil being pumped through that transmission, and it literally just ruined the entire transmission. Couldn't shift it, it was just locked. All the gears were locked. Bad idea. So swapped the motor out with a used motor, got offline. All together, it's all back in there, and slowly problems started to rear their ugly head. The main problem that I can't seem to figure out that might, I don't know, I just want to talk about it because it's frustrating me. It's overheating, okay? But the fans are not coming on. It's got one engine coolant temperature sensor on the left cylinder only on the 1800s. Okay, so it's overheating, and it's overheating on the right side cylinder using a thermal light. Left cylinder's a lot colder than the right side, and then that side, all of a sudden the hot gauge picks up into hot, and boom, starts spewing coolant, boiling over out of the reservoir. No fans come on at all. Of course, we've checked all the wiring to the ETC sensor that goes into the ECU, that goes to the fan control relay, that goes to the meter assembly, which tells you how hot and cold it is. All the wiring is, it's perfect, but it's overheating. The engine coolant temperature sensor is obviously telling the gauge that it's overheating because it's rising up into the hot range, but it's not turning the fans on. It's blowing my mind. It's blowing my mind, seriously. The only thing that I can think of at this point is someone dinked with the water pump thermostat housing because he never went into that. He just put it on. Or I have no idea. That's what's racking my brain for the past week, honestly. But yeah, so Trail 70, Goldwing's giving me a headache. But let's talk about some questions that you guys have, okay? All right. So pull up some notes. And first question, we actually have two questions back to back that are both the same type of bike, actually. So this one's from Lou Wheellock in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Also, if you wrote a question in and I haven't gotten to it yet, I'm sorry. I might try to just email it back to you. I'm just trying to play catch up over the past holiday weekend. I'm falling behind pretty quickly. So, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, 1984 Honda Nighthawk 700. Really, really cool looking bike. 10,000 miles, he's got an F1 exhaust. My fuel gauge and gear indicator does not function. I'm going to replace all the fuses to see if that will correct the problem, but if it doesn't, do you have any advice? Replacing all the fuses is probably a waste of time, honestly. Drink some coffee. A fuse is a fuse, man. I've never started just replacing fuses and fixed the problem on an electrical system that had a fault. I replaced the fuses that were blown, and it fixed the problem. But you got to find out why it blew. So, my advice to you would be to get a manual. I know that's a cop-out answer, but I also wrote down some things from looking at the manual that you should refer to. So your fuel level gauge on the bottom of your tank is what I would check first. And you can pull it out. You gotta flip the tank over, get all the gas out, flip the tank over, pull the fuel level sensor out, and it's got like a thin coat hanger line with a bob on the end of it, and that rotates up and down, obviously for fuel, and that's full and empty. And where that rotates back on that sensor that you pulled off the tank, it has like a band of switches that it kind of rotates past, and that gives different resistance to the meter, which allows it to say, oh, I got more power, cool, now I can say I'm full, or now I can say that I'm empty. That's all that it's doing, just adding resistance or taking away resistance. All right, so what you could do is pull the fuel sensor out, leave it connected, turn the bike on, and just see if you can function the fuel sensor and if the fuel level gauge changes, because it should, if it's working properly. If it's not, then you either have a bad fuel sensor or you have bad wiring. Okay, and you can check the wiring by, I actually wrote it down as like a little cheat sheet, but from top to full on the wires coming out, there's going to be an ohm rating or a resistance rating. Okay, so from full, it's from 4 to 10 ohms of resistance, and from empty, it's from 90 to 100 ohms. Okay, so that may be not helpful as far as the terminology goes, but that section in the manual is what you're going to want to refer to. As far as your neutral light goes, 'cause I think you said you had a gear indicator does not function, so it wasn't just a neutral light. So obviously you have a gear indicator sensor down on the left-hand side of the bike. Again, the manual has like a really cool diagram, and there's like 6 different boxes, and it says what you're going to do is test each switch or each terminal to ground. And all you're doing is checking for continuity. Continuity is just to say, okay, from here to here, there is a good path. It's not broken. So you can use resistance to check that. Hope that makes sense to you. Put your meter on resistance or ohms. My meter has a cool little beep, so I can set it to like a continuity check. And when I go from here to here, it goes beep, and then when I release it, it stops. And that says, yeah, there's a direct line from there to there. Resistance reading would do the same thing. It will just give you a number. Most wires on a harness that are not going through anything should have no more than 1 ohm of resistance, typically. All right, but anything over 1 ohm, you're starting to run into a resistance that probably shouldn't be there. Corrosion in the cable itself, where water's collected, it's rubbed raw and now touching the frame, this, that, and the other. But your switch, testing those wires, all those wires to ground, and seeing if you have continuity to all of them is what I would do. If you do have continuity, then it may be up at the meter itself. Yeah, so manual's going to help you out, man. I wish there was a way to be like, yeah, man, just hit that yellow wire with some Lysol and it's good to go. But there's not. It's going to be like very strategic testing, and it requires a manual to do that. Okay? Hope that helped out a little bit. As far as I know, that those 2 circuits are not in line together. All right. So, next question from Luke in Brooklyn, 84, Honda CB700 Nighthawk S. Same exact bike, 1,300 miles, no modifications at all. Coffee break. Sorry if you guys hear the background noise. It's the heater actually working, so that's actually a good thing. So Luke has actually emailed me a couple times in a matter of a couple weeks. He had a problem. He actually managed to solve it on his own. Come back and say, hey, but what about this? And he like it was really cool to see, like, with me not even answering, he's like, hey man, I figured it out, this, that, and the other. So this was the last email that I got from him. He said, from Luke, first off, I emailed you earlier regarding the tach and gear indicator not functioning. Different problem with the other bike, but two different things. It's kind of weird how that was two different emails from around the world. I start metering everything I was capable enough to do, followed the manual, couldn't figure it out. Then laying in bed, watching your videos, don't read too far into that, in parentheses, I had an epiphany. Ran to the garage, checked what I was wondering about, and I was proven right. Turns out I'm an idiot, and it was just a blown fuse. Fantastic. Anyway, on to my next question. I live in New York City, Brooklyn. It's cold as hell, and the bike isn't going to be ridden except for a few days when I'm feeling brave. I have seafoam in the gas and oil, and I have ridden about 50 miles to let it flow through the system after seafoaming the carbs separately. Should the oil be changed prior to letting the bike sit for the winter months? Or should I change the oil now before it sits? Thanks, buddy. Your videos have really made me feel like I'm capable of doing work on my bike by myself instead of a garage, and my wallet and my confidence level has grown. Thanks to you. Awesome. So what I would do is, because winter is usually like a 4 to 5 month period, maybe less, maybe 3 months, depending on where you're at. In Virginia, it's about a 4 month period. I would change it, man. I would get it warmed up. So you have a 84 700, I believe that is, I don't think that's liquid cold. I don't remember. Get it warmed up, operating temperature, and then drop the oil. Put fresh oil in it. That way when you go to ride the bike and get it ready to go, you're good to go, man. You start riding. You don't have that thought of, oh, I gotta change the oil, That's just taking up rent in your brains for free. Okay, it's just taking up space in your brain. So I don't think there's any real science behind letting the oil sit in there and versus not. There is sediment in the oil, and there's carbon from explosions going on in the oil, and there's burnt up detergents, and there's maybe some moisture in the motor. But if you run it to operating temperature, the moisture will evaporate. But all it's going to do is sit on the bottom of the oil pan. It's just going to sit there. When you're going to start back up again, it's going to be like nothing ever happened. Okay? But getting the bike operating temperature, get all that stuff mixed up, and then drop it, let it sit with the oil drain off for a whole day. Just let it sit. It will get everything out of there completely, fill it back up, run it, check the oil level again, and wait until the season starts. That's what I would do. I wouldn't recommend saying, I don't think it's, don't look too into it is what I'm trying to say. Don't look too far into that question. Very simple. Just change it. Okay? No one likes bathing in dirty bath water, you know. Neither does your engine. All right, on to the next. 2 more questions, and I'll hit the comment page and see what you guys are talking about, because I have no idea. Christopher Newland in Kentucky. He's got a 2000 Honda VLX 600, really cool bike. 31,000 miles. The modifications, he's got TJ Brutal Customs Performance Jet Kit, TJ Brutal Custom Velocity Stack, TJ Brutal Custom Backdraft Exhaust, straight pipes. Shout out to TJ Brutal Custom. He makes some really quality looking stuff. If you ever go and see what he has, he builds stuff just for VLX 600s, and like chopper stuff, and you know, custom fab work on exhaust and all kinds of cool stuff, man. He's doing some really cool, and it's cool that it's like it's niched down to the VLX. That's what I appreciate about TJ over at TJ Brutal Custom. So shout out to you, man, for your good work. If everybody goes and sees him or buys something, and say, Motorcycle MT said what's up. All right. So yeah, he's got some pretty, I would say, pretty advanced modifications done. Okay. because the velocity stack is a huge difference. The jet kit is a huge difference. The straight pipes is a huge difference. Black Betty, my 600 runs great and has great power after adding the jet kit and changing the exhaust along with the velocity stack. I'm so glad you got that figured out. Hopefully, I imagine TJ really just made it super simple for you, so shout out to him for doing that. Due to winter weather, I have garaged my bike but have been starting it and running it for several minutes at least once per week. If I know it will be a while, I add fuel stabilizer and have fogged the engine before. I recently let it run for a few minutes and noticed smoke coming from the front end above the radiator. And there was coolant that had slow dripped down. I was able to find the leaking area, and it seems to be where the plastic mount attached to the radiator fill cap mates with the metal bowl part attached to the cap. You got that? You following along? I hope I explained that well enough. I was very confused when I read it, so don't worry. But this kind of summed it up. It looks like an aluminum bowl that has 2 or 3 large coolant lines attached to it. Ding! I already know, that instantly made me know what it was. Any idea what it might be? I'm assuming I may need to drain the coolant system and check for cracks, but wanted your advice first. Side note, it's amazing to see a fellow Christian in the motorcycle realm of YouTube. It's hard to find bike channels without profanity and ridiculousness. Thanks, brother. God bless, Chris. So, that sounds like it is at the thermostat, like, hold. Okay, that aluminum bowl with coolant lines going to it is, as far as location goes, as it pertains to the radiator cap, it may be right behind it, but I know it's on the front neck, behind the front neck of the frame. You gotta take the gas tank off to see it. It's got a temperature sensor there. It's got, some coolant lines, but that is your thermostat housing. So that's holding your thermostat and allowing, coolant to come in and out. Once it reaches a certain temperature, it flows through this, that, and the other. A lot of times, Chris, it's just loose band clamps. As the hoses constrict and then you heat them up, they expand and they constrict and they expand. Sometimes coolant, I've actually seen, I don't know if you've ever seen a coolant hose or a radiator hose from like a car. Okay? Just imagine like a big thick hose, and it looks like there's like thread in the center of that compounded rubber hose. I've literally taken hoses off of bikes and the hose is empty, and when I squeeze the hose, coolant is coming out of the veins of that thread. I've seen it. Okay, so that can happen if the hose is starting to break down or something like that. But a lot of times, man, just tightening, like loosening and then retightening the band clamp goes a long way. I would definitely see exactly where it's coming from. Make sure that your radiator cap is on all the way. Sometimes you think it's on all the way, but really it's not. It could actually go at like an extra small turn. But that's what I see the most of. I rarely see cracked thermostat housings in Virginia. You're in Kentucky. But checking for leaks or checking for cracks in that system, I would say is a little overkill. It may be. I would not put it past it, but usually a loose radiator band clamp. And also, like if you want to drain the coolant out, if your coolant's green, change it out. Honda went through a Type 2 blue coolant, so you need blue coolant in there because your coolant is at least 3 to 4 years old. Okay, side note. If it's green, just take it out anyways. When you take the hoses off of that bowl thermostat housing, corrosion can build up around there, and so you can clean those up as well. I've also seen like radiators just crack. I've seen them just kind of deform and crack. So that could be an option, but it sounds like it's coming from that thermostat, so just check the hoses, man. Check all the clamps. You might even find that they're a little bit loose. Don't Bear Grylls it and snap the metal tie line, but snug it up. All right, number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, get in there and get them all tight and make sure and see if that fixes the problem. All right. Last question from Jamie in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. 83 Gullwing Aspencade, 40,000 miles. The mods, it's naked. Imagine that. Picture that. Naked. Slow crank, then build speed, clean the starter, and it has a new solenoid. That's all he put. Okay? So, this could be a number of things, but I'm going to start with the basics. Battery, okay? Battery terminals are loose, corrosion on the terminals. Usually it's a bad ground, bad power type thing. Yeah, so battery. I don't know how cold it is in Canada. I imagine it's pretty cold. Never been there, but battery. Load test it. And don't just take it to an advanced auto store and have them test it, because I have found it to be very, very wrong when it comes to motorcycle batteries. Okay? If you can, take it to a motorcycle shop. They should have a load tester for your motorcycle batteries, and they can tell you exactly what's going on. So that's the first thing, the basic thing. You said that you cleaned the starter. I'm wondering if you replaced the brushes. Okay? Cleaning the starter is one thing, but once the brushes are worn out, it's just a good idea just to replace the brushes inside. The springs wear out, they overheat. Yeah, so I'm wondering if you rebuilt the starter. Replacing the solenoid is a great idea, but I would, if you just cleaned it out and cleaned the powder crap away from the brushes, I would look into getting a new brush set. Okay, and again, just checking grounds, checking terminals to the battery, and go from there. That's my best advice. The dark side of me wants to be like, well, if it's slow to crank at first, is there fuel entering the cylinder? And like it's almost wanting to hydrolock, but that's going in a path that I don't think is going to be it. That's just how my brain thinks. Because like what I'm saying is there could be lots of different things, but the basics is what I would cover with that. All right. Yeah. Rebuild the starter. Don't just clean it. So that's all the questions I have, guys. That's all I'm going to go over tonight. I do have more questions. I'm going to get back to you guys about the carb clean emails and some other questions that some guys have asked were a little bit long-winded, and I want to get back to them with a good answer. So I have to catch up on that. So some questions that you guys have. Let's see what you guys are talking about. All right. What's going on, everybody? Mike, Brian, where's my coffee? Penmanship is dead. This dude is legitty. Can't believe you're under 10K. Thanks, man. I can't believe I'm at 8,000 subscribers, man. That blows my mind. I'm freaking humbled by that. Xavier, what's up, Daryl? Still on the clock, brother. Miss your face. That's funny. Did you try a different set of fans? Danny, if you're talking about the Gullwing, we bypassed the engine coolant temperature sensor and just grounded the relay, and both fans came on. In fact, he came back from a test ride and just let it idle outside. I went over to it because I saw a little puddle of coolant coming out from underneath the trike. I was like, hope nothing's bad. And I'm standing there watching the heat level gauge. It rose up about a needle over middle. And Gullwings don't ever usually go over the middle hash of their coolant meter. Ever. Fans come on way before that. It rose up to that. Boom, fans kicked on. I kid you not. The fans freaking kicked on. They went off. It cooled down. And then I waited again. I said, all right, I'll just wait. Obviously, it's hot enough for the fans to kick on. I'll wait. Never came on. Needle said, it rose about three nodules or 3 lines, and then just smoke started billowing out of the bottom of this trike. I mean, it was overheating like crazy like that. So the fans are fine. We've tested the fans. I can rant on that all day. It just blow my mind. What's up, Dean? Let's see. Dean Farley. I bought a cheap tack for my bike. It functions. The needle goes up and down with throttle, but reading it was off 2,000 at idle and up to 8K. Is that a crappy gauge, or can I adjust this? Crappy gauge. Usually when you try to get inside of a tachometer, you destroy it, and there's no adjusting that. They are typically wound by like a clock spring, so it's like a very thin brass coil that's wound. That's typically how it operates, and there's no adjusting that. Trust me. Wilfred Fearley, hey mate, what could constant condensation actually mean? Bike stops the condensation when warmed up. Kawasaki 1195 mod. I understand these bikes are cold-blooded anyways. Constant condensation, man. It really all depends on your ride rhythm. Like how far away do you ride it to work? Is the engine getting to that operating temperature every time you ride the bike? I have two 750 Nighthawks, CB 750 Nighthawks, and my stock one, it has like a little airbox drain for the crankcase breather system where usually that moisture collects. And I would be draining it at least once a week. And I would get about half a cup of condensationally cancerous, oily, pussy looking fluid coming out of that, and that's disgusting. But coming out of that line, and it's because I was never getting operating temperature. I would get right on the interstate, 2 minutes on the interstate, get off the interstate, go to work every day. And it built up so much all the time. So you're saying that bike stops the condensation when warmed up. Ding, ding, ding. And that's what you want to do, is you want to try to get it to that operating temperature every time. If you're doing that short ride rhythm all the time, I'd be more cautious to change my oil more regularly, because you're constantly building up that moisture and moisture and moisture. Or just ride it, man. Just ride, take the long way around, and get it warmed up, and that should clear the condensation. But having condensation in the motor is totally normal. It happens on every single bike. Some shows more than other. 700 is air cooled. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. So the reason why I was asking that was because if you're gonna let the bike idle, I forgot who I was talking to in the questions, but have some fans on it, because you don't just want to let an air cooled bike sit and idle for 15-20 minutes. You can actually burn the starters up in them. So air cooled, need some air coolage fans going on it at all times. I'd hate if you just go start it up and then go inside and catch up on some TV show and come back out and it's just like the oil, it's smoked. Let's see. Bozo Winslow, great info. Looking forward to more. I was wondering if you had something on the 81 Honda CB750 Custom. The pilot screws on the bottom of the carbs, yeah, I messed them up. I don't have anything. I have knowledge about them, but I don't have any content on them. All the content that I make for the website or for the channel or whatever, Instagram, Facebook, is on a first, it comes in the door. I try to schedule my entire life around how I'm going to record it, get the bike back in a reasonable time to the customer, and provide the content. So it's sometimes I have great ideas. I had a beautiful pod filter tune that I did on a 750 Custom, and I was so eager to record it, but it didn't happen, man. It was just too time crunching. I got family stuff going on and this, that, and the other, and I couldn't record it. So I don't have any content on it, but if you screwed them up badly, I would be looking for a cheap set of carbs, man, honestly, because you might do more harm than good trying to get the pilot screws out if you broke them off or they broke off when you were trying to retrieve them. Because drilling them out and all that stuff, man, you're talking. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Press send for Spanish. Is backfiring normal on decel? Yes and no. On brand new bikes that are like when brand new bikes were coming out when they were carbureted, like the XR 650L, they come very lean from the factory. And when you ride them and you get them all warmed up and they're good to go and you decelerate, they backfire, and it pisses me off, honestly. Same with dirt bikes that come out of the box. They're always too lean. So it is common, and it's made so that you're not using more fuel than EPA wants you to. So it can be corrected. I don't like it. The bike can and will run a lot better without it, but it's not harming the bike at all. It's not ruining your bike because it's backfiring on decel. When I hear it, I think that whoever's riding the bike, either thinks it's cool, or whoever touched it last has no idea how to tune the carb right, because I can make it not do that. So, but it's not going to hurt anything, and yes and no, it is normal. It is coming from factories like that, but you can solve the problem. It's not really a problem, but you can solve that concern. Let's see. What time is it? How far are we on this? 36 minutes? Wow, we're actually pretty short. All right, so I'm going to keep going. Danny Bus X. I'm getting my 82 CB750 SC back together, and my master cylinder is locked up. Imagine brake master cylinder. Do you have any advice on how to get the piston out since it's frozen inside? Blowtorch the mess out of it. Okay? So hopefully you know how they should come apart. So there's a plunger, and where that plunger is inside the master cylinder, there's a C-clip, or like a little, I think they're called like O-shit clips or something like that, because you pull it out and it flings everywhere and you go, oh shit. Yeah, but they take, yeah, those. Forgot what they're called. Snap ring pliers. Snap ring. Take the snap ring out, the plunger should come out. Obviously yours is not, but if you have not taken that snap ring out, that could be why it's not coming out. If the snap ring is out, dude, blowtorch it, man. Blowtorch it. Get ready to repaint it. Get ready to potentially put a new glass on the front of it. There's tons of different ways you can do that. But heat, man, heat will be your best friend. Heat and penetrating oil. And then a pair of vice grips. And as you heat it for like 5 minutes with a blowtorch, start working it out. Hopefully you won't pull metal out with it, but that's really the only way, man, that I've been successful with very, very seized master cylinders. Or it might come out freaking easy, and that would be awesome. But heat will be your best friend for that. I have a meandering. What's up, man? I have a 05 Honda Shadow Aero 750. I am replacing a clutch and putting harder springs due to slipping under heavy acceleration. This has been occurring for 20,000 miles. Are the clutches just weak? Yes, the clutches are weak on the Shadows. I totally think that they are weak. But 20,000 miles on a slipping clutch may be time to replace the clutch and not just do springs. New steel plates. You'll know when you get in there, or maybe you won't, but when you pull the clutch assembly out, and you separate the steel plates and the fiber plates, make sure that you take them out in order. Okay, boom, lay it down, in order, and then go back together the same way. You're looking for any bluing on the steel, any bluing at all, any discoloration. They should be like a solid gunmetal, or not gunmetal, but like a silver steel color. Any bluing or discoloration on any of them, replace all of them. The pad thickness, if it's black, and it stinks, it smells like, I don't know if you ever smelled a burning clutch, but you can tell immediately. I actually have a smoked clutch right over here. What do you know? Trail 70, smoked clutch. See how it's discolored like that? Got some silver, got some dark tint to it, some bluish. Your clutch won't look like this, but a clutch is a clutch. Yeah, that's really where the main overheating took place. As it slips, it overheats. These are the clutch discs. See how they're black? Like black as night. And they stink. Now my hands stink. Oh, it smells awful. It might be time to do that. And then you can put the stiffer springs in it. I would not go Kevlar clutch. I would not go some aftermarket company clutches. I would do a stock Honda clutch and then do your spring job. A little trick that I do when I do any clutch on the Shadows is I put the exact same size washer on the back side of the spring where it sits onto the pressure plate, and it's not just any washer. The Goldwing spark plugs, they have crush washers on them, and they're really wide, like a 14 millimeter, but they're very, very thin. And I take all of them off every spark plug change I do on a Goldwing, and I keep them because I use them to stiffen up springs. Ding! But yeah, stiffer springs would help on any of the 750s, honestly. They are weak. Now I'm going to get oil all over my computer. Let's see. Oh, I jumped right to the bottom, my bad. Let's see. Space Rider Cody trying to put together an 81 Suzuki 550, came with no carbs. Got some carbs and gonna try to fire it up for the first time this weekend. Notice the vacuum side of the petcock has a plug, and the vacuum port on the number 2 carb is also plugged. Shouldn't they be connected together? Why would they not be? Yes, they should be connected together. Someone didn't know what they were doing, and it was either leaking out of there and they plugged it, which I've seen. I've seen people on fuel valves, they're leaking out of the weep hole, and they literally take a sheet metal screw and screw it into the weep hole to stop it from leaking. So I wouldn't put it past somebody to do that, to plug it up. They obviously don't know how it operates, because even if you plugged it up, vacuum still needs to be applied to it. I don't know if you saw my vacuum fuel valve video, but vacuum still needs to be applied to it for it to function, for it to flow gas out. So if you're going to go with a gravity-fed fuel valve, you can do that and take the vacuum-operated fuel valve off, or you can connect the line, but I have a feeling that there might be a problem with it, so just be aware of that. My life behind the bars. Should X-ring or O-ring chains be lubed every 300 miles or so, or not lubed at all? Lots of different info on the subject. They should absolutely be lubed. If someone's telling you to never lubricate them, no. Every 300 miles might be a little excessive, but what you can do, man, really, really quick trick. I like to, you should be checking your chain every 300 to 500 miles, absolutely. So, and it's as simple as putting the bike on the side stand, reaching down with your hand and feeling free play, Okay, if it's flopping from the ground to the swing arm, obviously you have a problem. But usually most chain adjustments are around an inch, so you can measure, from the crease in your thumb to the top. Sorry, that's spray paint all over my hand. I'm not usually, yeah, I am usually that dirty. But that's about an inch. So you can say from where the chain's resting place is at, you can lift it up, and that will give you about an inch. But usually like an inch and a third or an inch and a quarter or whatever the manual says. But an inch is a good reference point. And then if your hand has oil on it or it's grease on your hand, it's lubed. If you reach down there and you're flopping the chain and nothing comes off onto your hands, it's time to lubricate the chain. Whether that's at 300 miles or that's at 1,000 miles, I don't know. All depends on the weather and, this, that, and the other. But 300 to 500 miles, you should be checking the chain. And yes, you want to lubricate O-ring chains. You can clean them if you want. They have Motion Pro sells chain cleaning kits and this, that, and the other. But yeah, I sometimes clean them. If they're really, really bad, I'll clean them. And there's some really cool sprays you can just spray all over the chain, let it sit, and then rinse it off with a hose, let it dry, and then reapply your lubrication. Works. Good question, though. Good question. All right, I'm going to hit up one more, probably two more, maybe one more question, and we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, man. All you all for just killing time with me. I really enjoy doing this, so sometimes I feel like it's not needed. And I'm like, this is just dumb. But you guys are always encouraging just by showing up, so thank you for doing that. And for this whole live Q&A is completely reliant on you, completely reliant on your questions. So once if that goes away, I'll stop. Bozo Winslow. What question did you have, man? I'm sorry. Oh, the 750 custom. I got some snot in my nose. FYI. They are still there. I turned them. This is the guy with the 750 custom that has the pilot screws that I think are jacked up. They are still in there. I just turned them some and forgot where they are supposed to be. They can only turn about 3/4 turn. A tab on the body won't let them take them out. Oh, dude, you didn't screw them up then. I did see your PodTune video, great video, but those carbs were different from mine. I'll keep an eye open for something you may do in the future. It runs, just not as good as I'd like. I do need to rejet, so I'll have the carbs off this winter anyways. So, Bozo, yeah, that's actually great information. Thanks for letting me know. So that little flag or that stopper is put there so that you can't screw with them, but they can come off. There's two ways to do it. One, both are kind of tricky. The second way is harder. Both will require the carbs to be taken off the bike. Did that answer your question? So, that really wasn't a question, but that's what I would recommend, taking the carbs off the bike. And getting all the fuel out. You can actually heat that up. Actually, you can do it in the bike, maybe. Soldering gun, excuse me. I know that was probably loud. A soldering gun will heat up that little flag tab, and you can take a pair of pliers and literally just pull it off. It's just held in by glue. It's a little flag that covers up another little tit that's a flathead screwdriver, and you can actually spin that until your eyes turn blue. Face turns blue. And so that's how I do it. I heat them up and then just simply just pull them off, clean up the glue, and then I can adjust them all day long. So what you're going to want to do is take them off. Okay? I wouldn't rejet it. I wouldn't do that yet. Take them off and then turn them out about a full turn out from where they are. So from where they are, turn them out one full rotation. Okay? And then ride it and see how it turns out. That's what I would do. You might say, holy crap, this thing runs amazing, just by doing that. So I thought you were much worse. Hey, it's my wife, Miss Moto MD, stopping by. Hey, babe, looking like a mega babe. Mega babe. Sweet. All right, guys. That's it. 50 minutes. That's enough of your guys' time. Thank you for hanging out with me. Let's see what I have in the works. I finished up a whole carburetor tutorial on the Nighthawk 750. Got some fine details to do about that. I started on the BT 1100 carb, full teardown, step by step. I'm trying to produce a whole page where people can go and grab a step-by-step tutorial from a professional on cleaning carbs from top to bottom. All right, so I'm working on those. Those will always be worked on because I have so many of them to do. And I think the next video I'll be working on maybe with electrical, with stators and stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that. Follow me on Instagram, The Motorcycle MD, or Facebook, The Motorcycle MD. Subscribe here if it's your first time here. Like it, share the content. I appreciate all your guys' encouragement. I got a lot of cool emails from people just encouraging me through Winter, or donating, or buying T-shirts, which I have. Motorcycle MD T-shirts, they're awesome. And so I really, really appreciate that so much. You guys are awesome viewers to have. So I hope that this was valuable to you guys. I know it's kind of like from here to there when it comes to different issues, but I think it's cool just to hear about different problems on different bikes, and I hope you feel the same way. If you have a question, again, go to the website, motorcyclemd.com. Other than that, I will see you guys. What's today? Today's the 9th, so will I see you guys next week? Give me a second. Hold the phone. I won't see you next week. I'll be in a. I'll try to do if you follow me on Instagram, I'll do like a live. What's going on, guys? I'm over here in Honda, on the 15th. So no live Q&A again. I'm sorry. If you have a question, though, don't hesitate to ask me, man. I'll try to get to it or save it to bring it out here. But yeah, next week, 15th Monday, I will be away from everything and training throughout that day. And then I'll be back on the 22nd, getting right back into the live Q&A. Hopefully I have tons of great content for you guys. So have a great week. If it's cold and it's snowy, be safe if you're going to ride. I've seen people do it. If not, just be safe. All right? Thank you guys so much for spending time with me. Cody from Motorcycle MD. Am I forgetting anything? No. Have a great night. I'll see you guys very soon. Peace out. And